Hello and welcome back to another Thunderous Productions tutorial. I'm your host Jag Thunder and this is Minecraft. And this tutorial is actually a part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, it'll be in the description. Get down there and check it out. Basically part 1 goes over how to construct some pretty cool windmills for your world. And I also touched on some Better Than Wolves. And then I also promised I would do a tutorial for just the Better Than Wolves users. So it's what I have here, and I'm going to go over this kind of quick. Keep the tutorial as short as I can. I have a basic system here actually using the windmill for power, and I'll show you how to power all this bullshit here in a few minutes. But I want to show you what I have. We all know if you've been using Better Than Wolves for more than 5 minutes and you've tried to set one of these up, when it rains, the gearbox goes to shit and it breaks, and then your power source is worthless. But there's a way around that, and I'm going to show you how to do that. This basic elevator system is pretty simple. It's just got an up and down, an up and down, an up and a down, and then also for when it's raining, this is just an indicator light. If it's not raining, everything's going to work just fine. So you just push the button and it works, and it goes up and all that shit, as you can see. And I'm not going to ride it up because it'll take too long. But if you're down here mining and using this in a mine shaft, obviously, and you come back and you jump on your elevator and you're heading up to the top and it starts raining and your gearbox breaks, you're coming back to the bottom and you're screwed. Basically, is what this is an override. When the rain detector goes off, it'll actually stop midway, and you won't have to replace your windmill blades. It's more for people who are kind of playing more legit than using fly mods and stuff. You just fly up there and fix the shit anyways. So anyways, is what I have is an emergency escape ladder, I guess you'd call it. If you do get stuck halfway up, you can climb your way out and then go do what you got to do. When it stops raining, the elevator will just continue on to the top. So let's take a look at the wiring back here real quick. And it's very simple, and I'll show you how to do all this. It looks probably a little complicated, but there's really not much to it. You just got vertical power going up, you got power coming down, and it all goes into these switches over here. To use buttons, you push the button on, you get power, and then it goes right back off, so you need solid power. So what this does is this refreshes your signal and makes it faster, and then it goes into an inverter box, and then that gives you solid power. Your block dispenser has to have solid power on it, otherwise it just sucks the block back in. So that's what all this shit here does. Basically, you want a solid block and a glass block, because the solid block will give you power, because underneath there's a redstone torch, and that'll take your power through the solid block and out the other side. When it switches to glass, the power can't go through, and therefore the power up at the top of the windmill goes the other direction, and down it comes. So anyways, that's how that part works. So let's go up and look at a quick structure here, so you can get a little bit better idea of what's actually happening without the other stuff around it. You've got a button up top, and then you have a button, of course, down at the bottom. And I put all this up here so you can see it better, but it'd be better if you probably put it down under the ground so you don't have to try to cover all this up. But anyways, here's your quick pulse thingamajiggy. Can't remember what it's called. Somebody's going to get me on that one. Your inverter. And there's your block dispenser with a solid block and a glass block. And then your power goes up here. One goes to your lighting system. And I have tutorials on my channel where I make a 5-floor elevator system with Better Than Wolves. And I go over this whole system is exactly the same. So if you go check them out, I think it's the first video. I go over all the elevators and how they work. And basically, the redstone comes across the top, lights up the first block. When this goes off, the redstone torch takes over, turns on the 2 repeaters, and then this one turns on. And like I said before, the rain is actually the red one here. R for rain, red for rain. And that comes from all the way up here where your detector block is. So when it gets rained on, the power goes down and it turns the light on. And then also, too, that's your braking system. Because if you don't stop the elevator, something's still going to break or it's going to go back down. So all that does is not that. It goes across the pulleys. You want to make sure this goes across the pulleys and not the gearboxes. Otherwise, it will not stop the elevator. All right, guys. So basically what I have here is just a quick tower showing a rain demonstration and how to set up the windmills. Here's your gearboxes. Always make sure that your gearboxes are facing your power source. You can use 1, 2, or 3 shafts, depending on how far away from your windmill you want to make it. If you try to go 4 and then put the blades on it, the weight of the windmill is too heavy and it will break the shaft. So you can't go over 3 shafts long. Wow, that sounds sick. But anyways, for this one here, we're just going to throw 2 on there real quick. Make sure all the gearboxes are facing this gearbox, and this gearbox is facing the main power. So if you have anything else coming off of these, you want to make sure those face that, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. But anyways, throw your windmill on there, and your main gearbox is the one that will break when it rains. So you want to apply power to it. As long as power's to it, it's safe. But if you have power to it, obviously the elevator will not come up. You need to take the power off of that so that the actual main power from the windmill goes to the gearboxes and turns the other ones. So what I have here is I've got a quick switch. We're going to hit that, and that's going to bring it up, and I'm going to turn the rain on. And this is about 30 blocks deep. So if you're anything over that, then you're not going to make it up to the top. And I'll speed this up so you can watch this. And there you have it. So right about 30 blocks, and see there's all your shit. Right about 30 blocks is where that breaks. If you had power on it, it wouldn't have broke because it stops the gears from actually turning. But like I said before, that's useless because then the elevator doesn't work. But at least with the rain detector, you don't have to climb up there and fix it every time, and it stops the elevator where it's at. So when the rain stops pouring down, it's still in the up position, up it comes. Or, yeah, up it comes. Alright guys, now I'm going to go over and show you how to do the lighted blocks. If you try to add redstone to the back of them, you're going to light up 2 blocks at one time. And that's no good for what we're trying to do. You can also run the redstone in through the back, and as long as they're separated and the redstone don't connect, you can light up 2 separate blocks. But it still does us no good because we need that 3rd block. So if you try to add power to it, you're going to shut 2 of them off and leave 1 of them on. Now you could come down over the top, and that's going to still connect, and then you're going to light all 3 of them, and that just does us no good. So what we need is this right here. Let me show you real quick. You got each individual light is separate. So you got 1 for your power on, and 1 for your power off, and 1 for your rain. Now the way to set this up is you want a block behind here. You want your redstone going up over the top. Your repeaters will separate the power here, and then your redstone wire running across the top here. And then you have a redstone torch, and basically right now that's getting canceled out by the live redstone. If we turn that off, this turns on, lights up the repeaters, and now the middle light works. So this switch here will designate your up and your down. And then whenever it rains, that'll turn on and off. And then you can just run this wire off to your main braking system. So that's how that works. Alright, the next thing I want to go over is how to take a button and turn it into a solid power source, just like using a lever. Because if you have a lever at the top and a lever at the bottom, you pull one, you can't pull the other because you already have power on it. Pretty basic shit, you should probably already know that. Anyways, I have 4 designs here that just do not work, and I'll show you and explain real quick why they don't work. This is your quick pulse thingamajobber, and is what that does. Like I said, when you push the button, it's very fast. And I absolutely love this for elevators because you need a quick signal, especially if you're going a long distance. This will refresh it and send it really quick. But this does us no good because the button is not holding solid power. We can use this thing again with an inverter, so we do have solid power, but all we just did is just reversed what happens. The button still goes on and off and doesn't hold solid power. So you're thinking, well, we'll just use a block dispenser then, just like you said. And that way when the block comes over it, it'll light up the block. Well, if you hit the button, it'll pop out and suck right back in. These need a constant power supply, either on or off. If you do any kind of pulsing like that, it's just going to break the block. Same thing with this right here. Doesn't matter what setup you use, either just straight through the dispenser or through the quick pulse. This will just break it quicker, that's all. So we have 2 designs over here that you can use. One's a little bit slower and one's a little bit faster. This one's faster because it has the refresh thingy on it. And as you can see, the block stays on because you have the inverter and you also have the switchy thing. I wish I could remember the name because that just sounds like very shitty right now. But I'm sorry about that. I just can't remember the name of that damn thing. But use it anyways. Just make sure when you put it together, also too, this has to have 4 or 3 clicks. It's got to be a max setting in the middle and facing that direction. But anyways, like I said, this is a slower design. If you take that out and use this, it'll still work, but the signal is just a little bit slower. Fast, slow. Alright, so you have your windmill set up, and this is the space that you're going to need. 14 wide by at least 2 deep. If you're putting on 3 shafts, you'll need 4 deep after you put the 3rd shaft on. And 7 blocks high, and that's to the gearbox. Otherwise, if you try to set it up, it won't let you. You can use a water wheel, which is actually better because it doesn't break, and you're wondering, well, why the hell don't I use that anyways? Because if you're out in the middle of the desert or someplace where there's no water, it's not going to look right if you put a water wheel right in the middle of nowhere. But anyways, it does take up less space, and it is more efficient because you don't have to put all the different switches and shit on it. But because we are creative builders, we want to use the windmill. So I'm going to show you how that works. And it works the same way. Your gearboxes have to face the main power source. So this is your power source. Every block that you lay down, you always start with this block facing that way and this block facing this way. And how these gearboxes work, they set up facing you. I'm using a different texture pack, so it kind of looks a little bit different. If you're using the standard one, you'll have like white triangles on the corner. Those will always face whatever direction you're looking. So to face them down, that's how you face them down, but the power's looking up at the top. A little backwards, but whatever. So when you set your gearboxes up, you want to be facing the direction you want the power to go. So just like to set this one up, I ran out of room here. Here, and then 1, 2 for a shaft, and then another shaft, and then all you have to do is just put your shafts in between and connect it back to the main power, and you're good to go. So anyways, when you turn your power on your main gearbox, you're going to have puffs of black smoke unless you have your particles turned off in your video settings. You'll see all this smoke. As long as you're getting smoke when you set it up, you've got power all the way through. Wherever it doesn't go through is because you have a power source either shutting that gearbox off or you've got it facing the wrong direction. A little bit of troubleshooting there for you. Now, there's several different ways to actually stop the power and make the power go different ways. As long as the blocks are still facing the main block that's going toward the power source, this one's facing that direction, this one's facing that direction, and you want to make a run go off this way, you will get power. And as you can see, it carries on. If I turn it the other way, whoops, you'll see this box is not getting power. If I turn it back this way, now it is. Now, there's several different ways to actually turn off power to the gearbox. Either here, just a straight inline feed. You can go up over a block, and that'll work. You can go up 2 blocks, and this is how your brake system works right here. If this was a pulley, this is how you want to set it up. It'll go over the top. This won't work on a pulley. So you just flip your switch, and that shuts your pulley off, and that causes a braking system. Okay, guys, this is your rain detector here. You cannot place it directly on top of a gearbox because what happens is it doesn't transmit the power straight down through, and as you can see, there's still power going through the line. But if you set it up somewhere else and make sure it faces the sky, and then run your power source down to it, and this is going to be like really messed up, but you'll get the point here anyways. And then, like say it rains, now it turns off the gearbox. So you can run it this way, you just can't put it on top. So that's how your gearboxes work. Alright, and finally, this is Pulley Alley, is what I called it in my first tutorial video. You can go back and watch that. I'm not going to go over everything again. The only thing that I did add is you can actually put tracks on your elevators and run mine carts, which is really cool because you can put a chest with a mine cart, and the powered rails do work. So if we drop this down, you'll see that it carries all the tracks, the mine cart, and it turns that off. So when you got another power source down here, it turns on and it can kick your car off. And you turn it back on and it brings it up, and the same thing. So you can kind of work your own creative wonders on how you want to run your track system out from your mining and use a different elevator system or whatever. So basically that just shows a little bit extra that I didn't show in my other video that I forgot a long time ago. Like I said, you can go back and watch them. They're really in depth. I show you, how many you can lift with 2 single loads. You can't put any other blocks on top of the elevator system. And then I've got a massive one back here that I show in that video too. That's just more for a challenge, just to see how many I could lift up. And you can actually go more than that. But anyways, Secret project back here, guys, coming up after this video, probably within the next week. And this is an awesome build back here. I'm really excited for the Better Than Wolves users. We're going to love this. So anyways, that's what you have for part 1 and part 2 of this Windmill tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Remember, rate, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.